You want the relationship. You've always wanted it. But the moment it starts feeling real, the moment someone actually shows up for you, something in you starts looking for the exit. It's not that you don't trust them. It's that part of you can't afford to. Because the last time you trusted someone to be safe and dangerous, came from the same person. Today we're talking about disorganized attachment. The push-pull, the self-sabotage, the bracing for the other shoe to drop, even when everything is fine. Especially when everything is fine. And what it actually takes to stop living at war with the people you love most. My name is Michael Perry, and I'm joined today by Justin Gates. This is the New Ashley Podcast. Hello and welcome to the New Ashley Podcast. This is part 3 in our 4-part attachment series. Now, I know a lot of this can sound very much like, well, that just sounds like you're describing the other two combined. And to a degree, I am. But there is some significant differences when it comes to disorganized attachment next to avoidant or anxious. Though it is really the worst of both worlds combined and then amplified.
Mm-hmm.
So...
It really is.
Yeah. It is this constant hypervigilance for rejection. It is... Once things feel good, you start pulling away. And then the moment you catch anything that feels like something's off, you either jump straight into anger or you jump straight into anxiety. It is this loss of center that is just, it drives impulsivity. It's a mindfuck.
It is. And it's probably the one you'll feel most spiritually. Because as you said, it's a push and a pull, ripping you into different directions and throwing you off of balance, off of center. And that's where we're at our best spiritually, right? Is when we're in harmony, in balance. But this one really, really sucks because it's not just plain old insecurity, is it? It's confusion at the deepest level of not just your body, but your heart and your soul and every other part about you. Right?
Yeah.
And what sucks about this one is with the other ones, we can kind of map out a strategy.
Yeah.
Right? This one's tough to find a strategy. You really have to, you have to dig deep to the roots on this one. Yeah. Because there isn't just an easy strategy for this.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it, though. I mean, the amount of work that goes into creating that sense of safety, autonomy, and to have, what's the word I'm looking for here? Nuance in relationship, because often this is your mind going from one extreme to the other. It's I am safe to instantly, oh no, they're leaving me or they hate me, even though you felt completely safe just 2 minutes ago. It is this volatility within you that is so hard to reprogram because often in this type of attachment style, you spent your whole life managing things outside of you. And the scariest thought to you is actually managing the things inside of you.
Well, it's a black hole. This one is a black hole because you can't chase enough. You can't get close enough. You can't explain enough. You can't prove enough, Michael. Right?
Yeah.
Everything gets sucked into that black hole. And I know I'm making this sound really sinister, but it's kind of why this one is really, really tough compared to the other two. The other two are bad, and they're hard. But this one is really hard because it seems like no strategy works on it. Because, again, you can't ever do enough to ever feel safe. You can't ever do enough. Your partner could be the perfect partner, and they can never do enough to make you feel safe all the time. So it's very, very difficult, right? And this stuff comes up when the people that are supposed to be the source of our comfort were also the source of what? Our suffering, our fear. And this one really goes back to child, right? To child self. A lot of them we can kind of work out just doing the adult routes, but this one we kind of have to go back to the roots, as I said, where this all started. And for probably everyone that has this problem. Maybe not everyone, Michael, but probably everyone, right?
Yeah.
This goes back to when they were kids.
Yeah. I think when it comes to these attachment styles, it's one of my favorite topics because I think most people suffer from attachment styles to one degree or another. And
Yeah.
for some people, it may not come from family. It could have come from a bad relationship, a misunderstanding in a friendship, a workplace relationship that got just chaotic. But this stems from childhood. The best analogy I've heard for it is exactly this. For attachment styles in general, we have mirror neurons, right? And we pick up on how people interact with the world, and we learn how to interact with the world. Most of these attachment styles is us doing that, especially for people who have it on the higher spectrum. We did have it in childhood, and our parents taught us how to love. But in this specific attachment style, often our mirror neurons were very confused because one part of our mind was saying this person is not safe, and the other part of our mind was saying this person I need connection with because my safety depends on it. And it's sort of this splitting where the mind is constantly fluctuating between I'm not safe and I need safety from the same source.
Yeah, and really, I kind of root this back to childhood for people who suffer from this one. Because, from a relationship, from adult things, you can walk away. As a kid, you can't walk away. You also can't fully protect yourself.
Yeah. Or articulate what's going on.
Or articulate this paradox, this contradiction that's happening. That even your body, you don't know better here, but your body knows something's not right here. And then there's this thing that goes on because your body then craves your caregivers or your caretakers, your parents, whatever. But it also wants to move away from them because of this thing that's happening.
Yeah.
Move toward, move away. Need, fear, love, threat. It just all these paradoxes just pile on top of each other. And when you can't get away and you can no longer move forward, what happens? You freeze, man. And freeze becomes your template.
Yeah. Well, and I think the worst part is you get into adulthood and you start having more agency over your life. That freeze response can very much adapt. These are the volatile people who in relationship on the flip of a switch can just jump into anger out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it's so insidious how this gets wired into us. I mean, back to your point of sort of being a child and being sort of helpless to do anything about this or articulate it. The other important thing is you really don't have an understanding of what love is outside of the context of your own home.
Yeah. That's where we learn it. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And for us, this goes back to being whole and having integrity, right? Spiritually, for us at Ashla, we say that we have to be whole. And this is a big division. This wound divides us into so many different directions. And it sucks because it's not our fault, right? We didn't divide ourselves here. We were divided. We were split into thirds and fourths and fifths and however many. Right? But our soul was made for connection. Hearts are made for connection and love and safety and belonging and trust. We can't have trust here. This is where trust leaves us again because the people that literally were supposed to keep us alive and keep us safe and keep us snuggled and warm and whatever, right?
Yeah.
They failed us. And let me throw the whole thing that Justin does every time. I'm not blaming your parents. I'm not blaming anybody. This stuff happens even by accident. So,
usually the parents didn't know any better. I've watched this unfold in households with some of the people I've worked with and just sort of understanding the story because the best approach to our philosophy is the moment you can start removing good and bad, you can start seeing things for what they are.
That's absolutely right. That's why good and bad's a lie. Perfectly said.
Yeah, because in these dysfunctional households, don't get me wrong, a lot of these parents are freaking abusive. They're horrible, but they also don't know any other way because they probably had the same thing going on in their life.
Well, and I'll even put this, even horrible parents, the ones that we could say are horrible and are abusive and are these things, they don't have a monopoly on messing it up though. Yeah. I'm not a horrible person, but I'm sure I tripped and stumbled along the way with my kids. I'm sure I did, right? Yeah. So, these bad people don't have a monopoly on doing all the bad stuff. Yeah. A lot of us good people do it too by accident. But this is where it becomes a problem for us spiritually because again, we are divided. One part of us wants trust and truth, but the other part wants to get ready for pain, or
Yeah.
part of us wants connection, but part of us expects to be betrayed.
I think the best way to look at it is love is the trigger.
Yeah.
Because we deeply want it and we deeply fear it at the same time. Yeah, before we go too much further, I just want to give a disclaimer after the heaviness I said in that last part. Removing good and bad to see the picture is exactly that. It is to understand why things are the way they are. We are not justifying abusive parenting in any way, shape, or form. No. That is wrong. That is not good.
Nope. But the more metaphysical point that you're making, the more philosophical and spiritual point you're making is that all things are connected, and we have to be able to find ourselves in each other to understand each other. And if we have seriously judgmental labels on the surface even, then we have problems. Bad people exist, 100%. Bad people exist, evil people exist, good people exist. It's not what we're saying. We're not saying that none of that exists, but the point is, it isn't bad people just aren't the only ones that mess things up. I mess things up too, and I'm not a bad person. So, but you brought up love, and this brings up a question I wanted to ask you. I think that's kind of what makes this attachment style so painful, is that love itself becomes really confusing. The person wants closeness, but closeness activates that. And from this side, maybe you can help us understand what happens when the caregiver is both the source of comfort and fear, and why that creates such a deep conflict in somebody's body.
Well, again, it's the more our unconscious mind is programmed by emotional moments, right? We talk about affirmations and how they're really not the best way to go about integrating change, because when you're reciting affirmations, there's no emotional charge. Yes, the more you say them, the more you start to embody them, but 1,000 repetitions of an affirmation will not hold a candle to someone screaming at you and you taking it inside of you. That emotional moment is charged and will right your nervous system. And when you're going through this in childhood, when you're constantly being charged, you're being shamed, you're dealing with anger and volatility and hot and cold parenting, you're dealing with this again, it's what you learn is love. And you learn very young that love is dangerous, but we all need connection. That is part of our essence. We are all drawn to connection, even you avoidant motherfuckers. It is something we all crave, whether we try to fight it or not. Yeah. And that's really what creates that shift. Is we get into adulthood, we realize, I want to have a relationship. I want to have love that my parents never gave me, whatever. Then you get into a relationship. And a good analogy for this is, imagine being in an abusive household. Someone raises their hand as an adult. You might feel like, oh, this person's about to attack me, when they're just waving hi. Most people will see someone waving hi. You're immediately unconsciously going to be like, I'm going to get struck. It is this, you are constantly hyper vigilant for any signs of rejection, abandonment, or being belittled. Like, one of the biggest signs I've seen with most attachment styles, when you're on the far spectrum of it, is that any criticism becomes a judgment. Any advice becomes someone telling you you're not good enough. Yeah. And they get defensive. I was guilty of this. I was so in the heart of anxious attachment that I would flinch anytime anyone would give me constructive criticism. And this isn't a flaw. This is just how we operate. And we start to learn, usually when people give us criticism, it's actually because they want to help us. Yeah. And we don't have to take it as law or how things operate, but it's learning not to take things personally. I think the truth to healing, all these attachment styles have the same root, and is the fear of rejection, the fear of abandonment, and the fear of not being enough. It's all interwoven.
This is why we need to be very compassionate.
Yes.
We have to be very compassionate with ourselves and with the people who are listening to this, who are suffering from this. No shame and no blame. We're here to expose it and then start to work towards... Right? Not fixing you, because you're not broken, but to help you understand this and then help you integrate it, right? So this is where compassion really comes in, because none of this is a failure. It was survival. You didn't have any other choice, and your body doesn't know any different now. You could be 65 years old and just hearing this for the first time and always have been living like this. So, right?
Yeah.
But this is also why healing has to be a slow, measured process. And this is where compassion comes in. It has to be grounded. It has to respect your body and the things that it's gone through for 10 years or 50. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because our goal today isn't just to say, trust more, Michael. I want you to trust more. Right? The goal is to help everybody learn what safe love actually looks like and feels like.
Yeah.
Right? And in Ashla, we always say the light does not condemn. The light does not condemn. It simply illuminates. It reveals so that it can be held and can be understood and then brought back into wholeness with us. Not destroyed, not banished into the Badlands, but integrated.
Yes. Well, and I think an important part with this was the biggest aha moment I had going from someone who intellectualized, read books, was constantly doing the whole, I have awareness so I can change now. The biggest leap I had that started actually making change in my life, and I see so many people struggling with this, people think once they have the answers, once you know better, do better. But they refuse to meet themselves where they're at.
Yeah.
It is this, I'm going to be a whole new person overnight, and then it falls short. That's why New Year's resolutions suck. Is because everyone has this plan to be a new me at the start of the new year. They go for a few weeks, and then it's like, why didn't the changes stick?
Yeah.
But,
yeah, you could be a new you in October or, March. It's okay. You don't need a special magic day to do it. How does this stuff show up? How can we start looking and evaluating the things in our life to kind of at least expose this to ourselves?
I think one of the best things to look for is that's really easy to point out is how often are you impulsive? How often do you make decisions on the hair of your seat, especially in relationships? Do you come to assumptions very quickly? Do you react quickly? Are you someone who is constantly telling yourself stories the minute something bad happens? What is your threshold of resilience and restraint given how big an event is? One small conflict can be taken as a war, a declaration. One misunderstanding can lead to closing off completely to the other person. And one moment of vulnerability can make you feel like you are no longer safe in this relationship.
Yeah, those are good ones. I also see a lot of people living in contradiction a lot. Right? They're constantly contradicting themselves. And I think that goes to the impulsivity you were talking about. Yeah. Constantly, I love water, I hate water type thing. Really easy to see when people are contradictive in their behaviors and their actions. But that's why it really feels so confusing and even shameful for the person living inside of that. Right? And that's really bad for them.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because that is such an important point. It is that, again, how we tell ourselves stories about what's going on. It is how fast we can go from one side to the other to over here. And it is just this, you're so malleable in the stories you tell yourselves and your belief system. You don't pause to think maybe this was a one-off moment. You build meaning out of everything, and every bit of meaning you make out of something then becomes the new story you tell yourself.
Well, yeah, and contradictive also in that the stories that you tell your partner, for example, the things you need, your needs are contradictive. So, like, they could show up for something that you said you needed, right? You guys just had this big sit down, this big, huge breakthrough. Even it feels like in your relationship, like, oh my God, I finally understand you. I know how to be there for you. And then that person shows up, and then you freak out, right? This contradictive, right? The same thing that you were begging for now becomes pressure and stress or danger or whatever. So, those contradictions, if you're feeling those, your partner is really struggling to help you with these things. And I don't say that to blame you or to shame you. Don't feel like that, but just kind of, those
awareness.
Are the times where awareness, right? Those are the times you have to kind of look at it and go, wait a minute, because I've done this with my partner. We've had these, we will sit here and have these long, these are, years and years in the making. I've known her for 25 years now. But, we'll have these big breakthroughs, right? And I'm always eager and willing to be flexible and do these things for her. And then I do these things for her, and then she would like switch it on me, and I was like, wait a minute. We spent 4 hours crying and hugging and talking, and now you don't want this anymore, right? But it wasn't her fault. There was that contradictive programming in her body, right? Because I need love. I need it, but it's always hurt me. You haven't hurt me, Justin, but it's always hurt me before you, right? You hear that a lot with people like this. You hear before you. It's not you, it's before you, but they still carry that, Michael. They still carry that stuff with them. And they can't help it until they start to be made aware, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think this goes for all attachment styles. Like, even I have triggers. Like, I remember Allison when we moved in together, and she started moving furniture. I was in the living room, and she was moving furniture in the room, and it sounded like things were getting thrown around, and it took me back to my abusive relationship, and it was just like, oh my God, she's pissed off right now. I need to go figure out how to fix this. And I ran in there, and I'm like, you okay? And she's like, I'm moving furniture. Yeah, I'm good. Like,
furniture's loud, man. It's noisy.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think there is one key theme I've noticed with this attachment style, and please correct me if I'm wrong. There is a level of aversion to self-awareness, and it's unconscious. Like, they may want self-awareness, but there is such a deep-rooted fear of seeing themselves wholly. In fact, that's probably why they're so afraid of relationships, is because they're afraid. Again, that moment of vulnerability now means they have weakness. There's a threat in the relationship,
and they're really scared of good, healthy relationships. Those are the worst ones. They feel the worst. Yeah. Right? But understand, remember, everything we do starts in here, and they're coming from a very divided inner world, right? Part of them, and I won't even say half of them reaches for connection. Part of them does. Who knows how divided they are? Right? You have all this contradiction. It's very difficult. And when a healthy partner comes around who can see this distortion in them and is willing to help and willing to sit with them and do these things, then you start getting very cynical. You're like, well, what's in it for you? Are you just going to use this? Are you just going to use this information against me? Right? Because everyone who's loved me seems to hurt me. You know? And you're not broken. Again, the soul's not broken. It's because our inner world has learned that contradiction is a law of the universe, and it's not. Paradox is in the universe, not contradiction, though.
I'm having so many aha moments having this conversation with you that are happening in the background of my mind.
Yeah, let's hear some. Let's hear it.
Well, it's more about some people stuff, I know in some situations I've been sauce, in. Man. It's like, holy crap. Like, I think one of the biggest realizations is how much this type of personality is more drawn to people who are abusive, in it for themselves, for lack of a better phrase. Because if they can see the danger, then they know how to, then they don't have to worry, because when someone good comes around, all of a sudden this person doesn't have a weapon they want to stab me in the back with. They don't want to take me for granted. And that feels so much more dangerous than someone who they can see their motives.
Yeah, and again, this is where compassion's important.
Oh, this is echoing that situation so much. Holy crap.
This is why compassion's important here. Self-compassion for those who live with this. Once you start to become aware, you're going to really need to be very compassionate and kind to yourself. But for you partners out there who have somebody like this in your life, it could be a friend, a loved one, a partner, whatever, right? You must be compassionate and very patient. Because they live with this pattern, they're going to keep looking back at the relationships that they've had. And they're going to critique themselves. They're not even going to look at the other person's problems or faults if they had any. We all do, so they probably did. But they're going to say, why did I do that? Why did I start all the fights when things were good? Why did I pull away when they were finally showing up? And they may not have even been that, because they're seeing that in you, right? Yeah. You're the good partner now. They're seeing that stuff in you. And then, so instead of embracing that and going, wow, I got a good one, right? And I can start to heal. They take your good stuff and look backwards and go, why did I not let them be more like you?
Yeah.
right? And if we don't see that and understand that, that will turn into shame for them. Shame doesn't heal shit, by the way. And there's a lot of people out there that will shame people into compliance or shame people into doing stuff. It never works. I don't care what you say. You guys can point at all the hundreds and thousands of years of whatever. I don't give a shit what you say. When you shame somebody into trauma, it doesn't do anything, right?
Nah.
Awareness will heal this, because what you're seeing is not proof that you're unlovable. It's proof that your body learned to survive in this really, really nasty contradiction. And again, contradiction is an illusion. Paradox is real, Michael. Paradox is real in every corner of the universe, but contradiction is not. Contradiction is an illusion, right? Right?
How much do you think shame plays into this attachment style?
Well, I think shame really keeps the wound open. This is why from the standpoint of the partner or the friend or whoever you are opposite of this person, they could even be your child, they could be your parents. Age, sex, none of that stuff matters here, right? There's the wounded, and there's the people that help heal the wounded. And I think shame is that thing that keeps that wound open, and it infects every part of it. That's why compassion is very important here. That's why trust, developing trust, not just with your partner, that rapport between the two of you, but developing that self-trust too.
Yes.
And you know, that is the antidote to this infection of shame. But I think shame is at the center of this, what makes this worse for everyone. But that's why we must find awareness here.
Yeah.
For us suffering this, we must start to be able to notice this stuff and call it out when it happens. And for a partner, a trusted partner, for them to help us say, slow down. Let's pause. Let's slow down. Let's call this what it is. Let's see what's actually happening here. Right? Are you actually unsafe, or are you afraid because this feels really icky, because it's unfamiliar?
Yeah.
Right?
It feels very vulnerable.
Yes.
Again, if I can see the motives of other people, then I don't have to worry about them seeing me deeper. I worry about being vulnerable because I can keep my walls up because I already know that they're going to do something bad to me. Someone good comes into their life, and it's all of a sudden, oh, this person's asking to meet me on a deeper level because they actually care. And that's
Right.
uncomfortable because I don't like what's underneath the surface. And I worry if they see that, then they won't like it either. Which, bam, rejection wound. Bam,
Well, I'll tell
abandonment
you.
wound.
And I'll tell you why shame is at the center of this as a disease. Because it's been my experience that, you know, the better I was as a partner for her, the more she would blame herself for stuff that happened before me. It's always before me, right? When you talk to them, they always say, not you, before you. But they use they use your connection and your love and your patience and all the good things you do for them to blame and shame themselves for the past. That's something that I noticed that comes up a lot, and it's very difficult to work through. I have hit my limits at times. You know, I have hit the ceiling of patience with this woman that I love so much.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to not show that. Now, I'm not masking that, but not show that so that I'm not increasing the amount of blame or shame for her.
Yeah.
Right? And it's been a very long process, but we are there, right? She isn't like this anymore.
No, I tell you what, just the growth she's had in the last couple of years has been absolutely mind-blowing.
It's been amazing. It's been amazing. I've gotten to see both of you guys grow, and I am literally the luckiest guy on the planet. I am the luckiest guy in the universe because I've got to see you guys both grow and thrive through your different shadows, through your different shadow works, through your different things. And you guys do share, you know, you guys have shared some similar types of things, but yeah, to watch you guys grow, and I don't take credit for any of that. You know, I'm just a conduit.
Even if you should, at least a little bit.
You know, but I feel like, you know, you guys have really, really come a long ways, and you know, You have to take the credit for that, because you worked really hard. And we all kind of cried, and we all bled, and we all got
Went
beat
through
up
it.
a little bit. We did, but here we are. So, but yeah, shame is really, really rough on this. And that's probably where, as we move into the segment about how to change it, how to embody it, one of the things that we have to kind of really start with is we defeat shame by building trust, right? But to have trust, we gotta start being safe first, right? Walk us through that.
So I got to touch on this because shame is just, it's one of my most passionate parts of the work I do and what I try to help people with, because I see shame out in the wild everywhere. And most people don't even realize how much shame is infecting their lives. I think shame is at the root of so much mental health in this day and age. And a lot of it does stem from childhood, because as a child, you can't articulate these things. And what shame is it is the perversion of a healthy emotion. And that healthy emotion is guilt. Guilt tells me I did something bad. And it helps us course correct. And when you're in an abusive household, especially like this attachment style, where you're constantly being told you're not enough and that your emotions are bad and all these different things, quickly that guilt converts to shame, because guilt says I did something bad. Shame says I am bad. And it's this embodiment at the core. And this is something,
perfect way to say it.
Yeah, and it stems across all the attachment styles, because they all have the same root wounds. They all have the same fears. It's just they approach them completely differently. Yeah. And so learning this trust is when we have this shame. Your parents are telling you you're stupid, and you're dealing with that kind of harassment in school, and you start to embody that. You got to look at these unconscious beliefs or agreements you made with yourself due to your past experiences. Mm-hmm. And often they're very deep in there. The best way to find them is in the stagnant thoughts that come up when you're driving, or the self-talk you have throughout the day. You can start to find the little messengers from these core beliefs poking their heads up. Hey, you might have done that wrong. Hey, I don't think you did good enough there. Once you can start identifying these hidden beliefs you have, you can start to rewrite the narrative. And rewriting the narrative, again, isn't the flip of a switch, but it's starting to get confidence in the areas you feel lacking, getting confidence in the things that you once deemed bad about yourself. A good example for me is the intelligence one. I was special ed growing up. I was pretty much enabled all through high school to take the path of least resistance, and I always just considered myself stupid. It was something that I just went through life with. I wore it like a badge of honor. It was, hey, you know what? I'm not the brightest, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but I'm damn reliable, was my catchphrase I gave people. And I remember when I started college, and I'm like, why the hell am I doing this? There's no way I'm going to succeed in college. I barely got by in high school. I had a class on raking leaves, is what I jokingly would say.
Yeah.
But as I started going to school, dedicating myself to it, I started excelling because I actually was interested in doing school. And my motives shift. And when my motives shifted to being productive in school, I excelled. I made the dean's list, the honor list almost every semester, and that's something I would have never dreamed possible. Right. All while juggling full-time work, podcasting, all this stuff. So it's about finding these beliefs and then teaching yourself otherwise, because what you tell yourself becomes your identity.
Yes, trust is the antidote. Trust in yourself and trust in others is the antidote. However, we have to begin with coming to a place where our body feels safe. Yes. This isn't something that we can't just throw ourselves out there bare and naked. We can't just expose ourselves deeply emotionally, right? Can't. Yeah. This is very important. It's not about forcing you to trust people who have not shown themselves to be safe. It's not about ignoring red flags in people or in situations. It's not about rushing into vulnerability because somebody told you that's what healing is supposed to look like. We have to start. You have to get yourself to a new baseline to actually feel safe, right? And this is where it gets boring, Justin. I know. We just want to do it and get it over with, right? This guy is always telling us to be slow and boring.
Slow and steady wins the race, though.
Slow and steady, right? This is how you're going to get healed. because it's better to deal with these uncomfortable parts of this, and they will be uncomfortable, slowly and surely, right? Because your body may be used to intensity and chaos and contradictions and just crazy crap happening all the time. So, the first mindset would be to recognize these activations when it happens, and then learn to slow down. Right? Don't run into things. Don't find you a good partner and then run head first into it, because it's probably going to be a problem for you, right? Yeah. I want to run right now. I want to pick a fight right now. I want to shut down right now. I want to do all the things right now. Those are the things we have to start kind of recognizing, slowly but surely. That's just old programming. You can get through that. And of course, as always, Michael, the pause creates space, right? That's what that's here for.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, we talk about it every episode, and there is a reason we talk about it every episode. Learning to understand and listen to our nervous systems and then to regulate it is paramount to any of the work you do. Because your nervous system is where the trauma lives. Your nervous system is where your triggers live. Your nervous system is where the past live. And if you do not know how to be aware of your nervous system, it will hijack your brain every time you're activated and put these on you. Make you want to run, make you want to fight, whatever's going on. The minute your nervous system activates, you trust it like it's gospel. You identify with it. You become inspired by it even. And I'm not saying you're like, oh, my body's acting up, it's time for me to do this. It's right. You feel the feeling, and then that feeling hijacks your entire consciousness, and then you just go head first into either running or judging or attacking. And that's why the pause. We preach the pause every episode, because if you can't catch it before it takes over and bring it back down into your body and allow it to not connect to your mind so that you can actually have agency over what happens next, you will never have self-mastery, and you'll never be able to move beyond how you've always shown up in life.
Yeah. And really, I'll close the conversation, my part of the conversation, with this today. An agreement that we don't really talk a lot about, but that agreement is hope. And this is where hope has to enter this conversation, right? Because when a person has lived with this attachment style for so long, they feel like they're too complicated, or they're always too intense, or too much, right? That's the word we use nowadays. Oh, you're just being too much, right? Or too damaged to ever have real, secure love. But that is not true. None of us are ever too far gone. No one is beyond redemption, as our axiom of light says. You're not broken. You're not too far beyond redemption, right? So you don't have to be doomed to repeat the same patterns over again. You may, if you decide not to do anything about it, but you don't have to be doomed. You're just someone whose nervous system and body learned to survive something that was impossible to understand, and you had nowhere to go. So now, slowly and gently, with the right support and the right kind of relationships, your body can learn something new. Like trust, love, right? You can learn that calm is not always some kind of warning before chaos. That consistency isn't a trick that somebody's trying to pull on you. That love does not always require you to be fearful. That closeness to people doesn't erase your safety. But this will happen slowly, one singular moment at a time, one honest pause at a time, one catch that you make at a time, right? One good regulated conversation at a time. Relationships one by one that are consistent and healthy. These things will help bring you back into safety and truth and connection. Survival got you there, but survival does not have to run the rest of your life. It's time to thrive.
One of your favorite axioms has been slowly molding more in my mind. It's sort of how we meet it at different levels, right? That axiom is no one is beyond redemption.
I love it.
Which I believed wholeheartedly. I've known that since I was a kid. But there's a caveat that I hadn't taken as much into consideration, and if you're suffering with this attachment style, you might not too. And that also means you are not beyond redemption. There is no point in place in our life where we cannot shift our lives around and start making change. And again, just like Justin said, it will not happen overnight. It'll be slow. It'll be freaking messy. It'll be excruciating. But what's on the other side of that? That freedom, that agency, that connection, everything you want. My favorite phrase, the magic you are looking for is in the work you are avoiding.
Yeah, that axiom's for everyone. That's why it says no one is beyond redemption, even you, even me, all of us.
Self-forgiveness, man, I tell you what, when shame is your operating point, it is hard to embody that. But
I know.
The more you do, the more you gain that self-trust.
I know. And that's why it's important for the rest of us to hold that space for the rest. To hold that space to where you can be forgiven long enough to be able to forgive yourself, right? Even if there's nothing to forgive. Because there probably isn't, right? You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. But if you feel like forgiveness is a medicine that helps heal this, then the rest of us will hold space long enough for you to get the courage to do that, right?
For exercise today, it is called Stay in the Good. If you're someone who suffers with the attachment style, when things get good, that's usually when things start falling apart for you. So learn to notice these moments in connection where, you feel uplifted, you feel seen, you feel loved. And most importantly, for those who are going through this, I'm not talking about when you're first entering that honeymoon phase. I mean, if you've been in a relationship for a while, because that's when the good moments are no longer chemically driven, right? Take this good moment and allow yourself to just pause, absorb it, tell yourself it's good. Be aware of all that is good about it. Embrace it. And the more you can start to do that when these moments arise, the more you can create space between when it's good and when your mind shifts to this is dangerous. For our affirmations today, I am allowed to want closeness and to have it. Safety is something I can learn. It is not too late for me. I do not have to sabotage what is good. Good things can stay, and I deserve it. My nervous system is old. The present moment is new. I can tell the difference. And I am not too much. I am someone learning how to be loved.
Those are great affirmations, man. Good ones.
Yeah. For our journaling prompts, think about the last time you pulled back from someone who was showing up for you. What were you afraid was about to happen? Where does this fear actually come from? What does safe feel like in your body? If you're not sure, what would you need from a relationship to start finding out? And is there a good thing in your life right now that you've been waiting to fall apart? What would it mean to let yourself trust it? If this episode resonated with you today or someone you love, please like, subscribe, comment, join the conversation, share it with someone you think needs to hear it. One thing I feel we should have said sooner that I think is important to bring up about this topic. If you are someone who is in a relationship with someone like this, it is beautiful and compassionate to be there. That it is very important to watch yourself and enmeshment, because that is one of the dangerous things that comes from connections like this, where you start making yourself responsible for your partner's moods. If your partner wants to work on this, grow, evolve, heal, wonderful. Be there, support them, do all you can. But you must put yourself first always, because that is where you can end up losing yourself.
Yeah.
Also, follow us on all the socials. We got TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify. I feel like I'm missing one.
All the podcasts.
Facebook. All the podcasts.
TikTok. We even got a TikTok channel. Do you guys know that? And the greatest website ever.
newashland.com. And also, if you're working through these issues, whether it's you or a partner, there is an episode guide linked below to help sort of work through some of the things we talked about today, to have some your own reflections and personal realizations. If you ever have any questions with those episode guides, things that come up, we would love to chat. Not even as any type of sales pitch. Just throw a comment in there or send us a DM. Would be happy to talk to you about it.
Yeah, comments are free.
We want to spread the good.
Comments are free, and they help us tremendously.
Yeah.
So.
And if you really want some in-depth work, that's where you can really jump in with the coaching on our website, because we do have great offerings there. But
We do.
We love you guys, and we appreciate you guys showing up, listening all the way through, and being a part of the family. With love and gratitude.
Love you so much.
Ad lucem.
Ad lucem.